The 49ers absolutely let go of the rope once again in a second half. Shut out in Atlanta, a 28-14 loss to send them to 3-3. I guess the good news is they're still in a first-place tie in the NFC West, and other key NFC teams, that could be a threatening playoff entity. Look at it this way. The Bays lost. Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and then the Bay Area. It was a rough day on the Bays around the NFL. We have very interesting kind of developments out of Chase Center with extensions to not just Jordan Poole, but Andrew Wiggins as well. And clearly a line has been drawn in the sand concerning where Draymond's standing is now. In terms of future plans, the Golden State Warriors are making future plans, and Draymond's not going to be in them. I mean, that's pretty much kind of the math that was spit at us today. But I know that our two midday shows, Larry, we're down at Chase Center celebrating the fact that tomorrow night is opening night in the NBA. So we're going to spend a little time on the NFL before we circle the wagons back around to some of the other things that happened this weekend, because there's a lot of sound from today's Kyle Shanahan conference call, some sound yesterday, and George Kittle at the podium had this to say about the way the 49ers played.
We're the San Francisco 49ers. We have a standard that we play at. I mean, we play at a very high level, a lot of energy, 100% effort on every single play. And, I haven't watched the tape yet, but I don't know if we gave that today, at every single position. And, we had a lot of young guys play. We had some, like you said, we're missing a lot of guys. And we just got to make sure that we're playing at that level every single snap, or otherwise that's going to happen, especially when you are down guys. You can look at it as, we're down, how many ever, 7, 8 starters, or you can look at it as that's a lot of young guys with an opportunity to go out there and, make big plays and, get their names known. So we dealt with it before. It's not easy, but, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. We have a very talented team. Our offense still has a lot of talented guys on it that can, get a lot of yak with the football. And, we got, I think, one of the best linebackers in football, Fred Warner, and our safeties are playing pretty well too. So, and that D-line's still good. So I just think we should have played better.
I think your coach should have coached better, George. I actually don't think the fall apart was in any of the many understudies who were asked to make a play. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Warner drop and, the Ray McLeod drop as well, the two big shots. Here's the thing. The 49ers take so few shots that you can't drop the ones that are there for you. And it feels like once something goes wrong downfield, well, it's going to be a long time before we look for anything downfield again. There is a lack of confidence that Kyle Shanahan has in his quarterbacks, his receivers, and all this yak yard stuff. It's fantastic. You know what's better than throwing a ball to a receiver for 4 yards and then letting him do all the dirty work is, let him get some speed up. Let him catch the ball downfield and then go yak yards against corners and safeties. That's how, you turn big plays into touchdowns, not little plays into first downs. And there's too much just underneath cuteness in a league that isn't married across the board to underneath cuteness the way that the San Francisco 49ers are. I mean, it's ridiculous how little Kyle Shanahan expects out of Jimmy Garoppolo in year 15 now, or whatever the hell he is with the Niners. There should be no lack of urgency that you'd have, well, my rookie quarterback doesn't know how to get everybody to the line of scrimmage that quickly, and, the no huddle's a little rough with the new guy in there. Jimmy's not the new guy. He's not the new guy, and Kyle Shanahan played that fourth quarter like he was up 14, not down 14. And there used to be, and look, I like Kyle Shanahan. I think he is a very good play caller. I think he's got the potential to be so much more than he is actually revealed. But this is a results-based business. And I no longer live in a world where Kyle's definitely the right guy out there for the job. He's the guy for the job right now. I am convinced Sean Payton would get more out of this offense than Kyle's been able to get out of it. And I don't know if it's Kyle's picadillos or persnickety nature or just his marriage to such a conservative offense at all times, Larry, that, he is who he is. But, man, he doesn't change. Kyle's like too consistent for his own good. He is not ready to change based on real-time information coming back to him off of a football field.
There's a lot there. One, let's go back to the Kittle quote that we just played. That's interesting. Just the fact that he's clearly you don't step to the microphone and call out your teammates unless you're damn sure that you're on the right. So obviously he saw something that was not up to speed.
But Kyle didn't.
I would disagree with that. I mean, I like George saying that. That's, to me, how you feel, especially when a team kind of dominates the game in terms of how they ran the ball, with the amount of carries they got compared to us, the time of possession and stuff like that. But I didn't look at any of the guys lacking intensity or going after it. They just, that was a very physical team. That's how they played every single team they've played. That's why they've been in pretty much every game they've played. That's why they have had a number, they've been close to winning a number in a row. That's why they had a chance to come back versus Tampa on that. But I thought it came more down to the turnover that we had and not converting on those third downs that didn't allow us to, get into our physicality with running the ball.
So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Kyle wouldn't agree with Kittle because it's Kyle's job. I mean, essentially, Kittle is pointing the finger, even though maybe he didn't mean to, at Kyle. He is pointing it at Kyle when he says guys weren't up to speed or guys weren't doing their job.
Should have said, the guy with the headset on, he's got to get his head out of his ass.
It's his job. It's his job to have his team ready to play. And one of the leaders in the room felt like there were some guys that weren't either given their all or weren't dialed in the right way or weren't focused or whatever. And so that is on the coaching staff. So it doesn't surprise me that Kyle would push back on that. It did surprise me that Kittle said it, and I don't think he would have said it without him having some pictures in his mind. He hasn't watched the film yet when he made that comment, but he saw some things on the field that obviously led him to that comment. That's not out of thin air, and he's not the kind of guy that creates controversy for controversy's sake. So either he's your leader on the team and we should listen to him, or he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'll go with the latter, the former, I should say, that he actually is a leader on the team and he knows what he's talking about, and he's probably pointing to something. But Kyle doesn't want to address that because that points the finger right back at the coaching staff and maybe him particularly. The more alarming thing is not yesterday. The more alarming thing are the trends that we're seeing, which is that the 49er offense can't pass when they need to pass, can't run when they need to run, can't come from behind in the fourth quarter of a game. Have they ever come from behind of a significant margin in the fourth quarter? What was the stat that we were talking about before the show? It's like
the 49ers have never won a game in which they've trailed by at least 4 points going into the fourth quarter. Now, they have won a game.
That's a ringing indictment.
Where they have won a game where they've been down by more 4 points in the fourth quarter because of an early fourth quarter opponent score.
Right.
But they have never won a game under Kyle Shanahan where they've been down 4 points going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I think Kyle Shanahan is a terrific coach, and I'm on record as saying that. People that point to his record, I think you have to break it up. He started 10-22 when he was taking over for Tom Sewell and Chip Kelly, and they were clearing out the roster. Then since that point, I think he's 36-25. So, and then 4-2 in the playoffs. I think Kyle Shanahan is an outstanding coach, but the lack of urgency in this game in the fourth quarter, and also watching Arthur Smith carry out the game plan that Lowe and I discussed in the pregame should have been Kyle's game plan.
Right.
You have 6 defensive starters that aren't suiting up for you. You need to play ball control. You need to dominate the time of possession. You needed the Arthur Smith game plan on your side, and instead you let Smith kind of dictate the terms on his side. So, and ultimately it cost you the game. I mean, and here's the other bottom line on the thing, and we can sit there and talk about this and that. How many times does an NFL team go on the road and are they're -3 in turnovers and win the game? It just doesn't happen. And it really doesn't happen if you're going up against a well-coached team, and the Falcons are a well-coached team. And then let's be honest here. Marcus Mariota had the game of his life against the best defense in the league, -6 starters. I mean, he completed 93% of his passes. His first incompletion, there was like 10 minutes left in the game.
No, well, his only incompletion was his last pass attempt of the day. He started 13 for 13. He ended up 13 for 14.
Wow. And he had some really key runs.
And he's also literally the template for how you ask a quarterback to run. Like,
not between the tackles, but outside the tackle box.
If you're Trey Lance, you want to run a football like Marcus Mariota, not the way your head coach has been asking you to run fullback power belly dive in between guards.
Right, where everybody's staring at you, and you're going to take at least 1 or 2 hits. Mariota was so good on his play fakes, Damon, that on 2 of the play fakes, he fooled the camera person.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're fooling the camera person, that's a great fake. And their run game, Caleb Huntley's nothing. Tyler Algier's nothing. But if you have a good offensive line and you're really multiple and your quarterback also has to be accounted for because of the read option looks that you can provide, it becomes it's a good way to slow down an incredibly fast pursuing defense, and they did it.
You take away the second half success in Carolina. The 49ers offense has scored 19 total points in the second half. So far this year, in 5 of 6 games, the Niners' second half offensive output has combined for 19 total points. Kyle is a major issue. Teams are adjusting to him at halftime and burying his offense week after week after week. They're taking what Kyle does and turning it off like a faucet.
He can only surprise. So if they can't pass on first down, if they ever get into an obvious passing down, they can't pass. They ever get into an obvious running situation, they can't run. They can only fool you. They can pass it when you think they're going to run early in the game. As soon as they lose connection on the scoreboard by a touchdown, 10 points, it's jailbreak on the quarterback. We saw it in the NFC Championship game. Look what everybody talks about Tart. I had to hear endlessly about Tart. The Niners had 2 full offensive possessions after Tart in the NFC Championship game. They got 0 first downs. This incredible guru, offensive mastermind genius, the modern-day Bill Walsh, 0 first downs on 2 key offensive possessions with the Super Bowl in the balance.
That doesn't sound like it's good to me, and this shouldn't sound like it's good to anybody. Because if Kyle had a style that he heirs to, it's conservative. And you know, when you got enough defense, when you got enough badass on that side of the ball, you wanting to go conservative, I don't have a problem with it. I don't need to see the Kansas City Chiefs offense, the Buffalo Bills offense week after week to enjoy the football game that I'm watching. You play sound defensive football, you play bully boy football. I like that. Conservative, successful football, I'm good with it.
It's called complementary football.
I'm good with it. For such a conservative offense. And by the way, conservative is the opposite of risky. It's the opposite of we might turn it over a lot. As conservative as Kyle is, and I saw this from Josh Dubow, most turnovers in the NFL since Kyle Shanahan arrived in 2017. Where do you think the 49ers are in the NFL in the turnover department since Kyle became head coach?
I would say they're in the bottom 10% of the league.
They're second.
Second worst.
Second worst. Only the Buccaneers, who were, bumblers before Tom Brady showed up. Since 2017, the Buccaneers turned the ball over 151 times. The 49ers have now turned the ball over 149 times.
So they're turnover crazy.
Turnover crazy in a conservative offense that doesn't push the ball downfield, that is afraid to score.
That is also the NFL's most injured team consistently. And then how about this? The 49er rushing EPA per play, their ranking under Shanahan, 2019, they were 7th.
Tell the people what EPA means for those, who are new to the new stats.
Well, I don't even actually fully I can't even fully describe it, but it's the key rushing stat that factors in everything. Rushing EPA per play. It kind of blocks out everything else and just cuts right to the essence of your run game. 2019, they were 7th in the NFL. They ran the ball very effectively. Top 10. 2020, that dropped to 11th. 2021, that dropped to 23rd. They are 27th in the NFL.
Dude, the league's on to
rushing EPA per play this year under Kyle Shanahan. The bigger question is what has happened to the bread and butter of Kyle Shanahan's offensive playbook, which is the run game. Everybody would say, hey, we could get Baldy, Greg Cosell, we get everybody in the world in here and say, what's the key to Kyle Shanahan's offense? It's his run-pass fusion. It's his run game, and it's his play-action game off of that run game. They're 27th in the NFL right now running the football, and they were 7th when he took over, and it's steadily gone downhill. Why is that? And then you watch some of these other teams. You look at Miami. Miami's got Jalen Waddle. He's fast. They got Tyreek Hill. He's fast. They get Raheem Mostert. He's fast. I'm looking at Tevin Coleman. I love Tevin Coleman. He's tough, but he's not fast. And Jeff Wilson. I love him. He's tough, but he's not fast. They don't have that dynamic runner without Elijah Mitchell. They tried to kind of replicate that with Deebo Samuel as a runner last year. Now that little wrinkle is catching nobody by surprise.
The entire league has studied Kyle for so many years. They're onto him.
They have no speed.
They're onto him. The league is sitting on top of Kyle's playbook. The whole league runs Kyle's playbook. He sneaks up on no one. He surprises nothing. And I'm telling you, I used to believe, all right, we do live in a world where you can't really go out and get a better coach, so I don't want to hear about firing this guy until you have a better idea. I didn't have a better idea until I heard that Sean Payton wanted to keep on coming.
Supposedly he wants to coach the Chargers next year. We'll see. And Justin Herbert, who goes tonight. But, yeah, the Niners' problems are injuries on defense and their offense.
Well, injuries everywhere all the time and Kyle's side of the ball.
But, I mean, he's an offensive coach. So if he's a genius and he's an offensive coach and he's been here for 5 or 6 years, they should have that offense humming by now.
Yeah, they do not. This is Mr. Jones in Atlanta. He was at the game. Mr. Jones, what'd you see at the game?
Okay. I saw no energy, right? And Kittle was right. I thought I was the only one paying attention. Now, Slick kind of blamed myself. Because I'm like, when I supposed to go over there, I looked at the sideline. I was sitting on the Atlanta team side because I like to go over there and talk hella trash to all the losers that's usually over there, right? So, it was kind of like a homecoming to me. But I'm looking at the sideline, and I'm like, dang, why the whole team sitting on the bench? Ain't nobody getting up. Ain't nobody rah-rahing. Ain't nobody trying to rally the troops. I'm like, did everybody go to Magic City last night? Where the energy at? Real talk. Like, you have to be there to see it. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff inside the game
right.
that you notice. So I'm like, well, maybe they and then Atlanta has that thing, too, where the away team sits in the sun. You know what I'm saying? That was a thing, too. But I'm like, still, look, bro, the whole team is on the bench. Nobody. So, like I said, y'all know what that means. Everybody just sitting there, ho-humming. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, okay, Kyle coming back to Atlanta. Yeah, he wants to show off. We should be real dynamic. Look, bro, I already knew. I put in the bet that Jimmy was going to.
Oh, Mr. Jones.
Cell phone zapped.
He was rolling. I was going to let him finish the hour.
By the way, the text line says Jeff Wilson hit 20-plus miles per hour this season. He's not fast? Well, it's all relative, but look up his 40 time coming out of college. It was like 4.57. I mean, that's just middle of the road. I mean, he's not a burner. That's my point.
No, that's the thing. He's all the NFL speed that you need when he's untouched and already 20 yards downfield. That's top end speed. How fast are you from your stance in the play before the ball is snapped to the line of scrimmage? How fast are you there? How fast are you in the first 4 strides of whatever route or run design you're actually participating in? And I've always thought that Jeff Wilson was a bit of a heavy-footed type of plotter, but he is a power back, and you need guys like that. You just need a change of pace to that power back, and unfortunately, you cannot play for the Niners for more than 4 weeks in a row without a hospital visit. And that's something else that eventually, I understand. Football is a really, really difficult sport, and it is hard on the body, but it is harder on 49ers bodies than it is on any other football team. It's insane.
Year after year.
It's insane the amount of blue tent visits and walking off the field and not getting up quickly and hurt today. And, hey, we didn't even know he was hurt, but on Monday his name showed up on an injury report, and on Wednesday he was on IR. That's what happened to not George Kinlaw, but
Javon.
Javon Kinlaw. Thank you very much. Getting my
Your
Kinlaws, my Kevon Looney's.
Your Javons and your Kevon.
We're right in the middle of going from one season to the next. I'm a little scrambled.
It's just bad ball, too. I mean, injuries, penalties, inconsistent, undisciplined play, drop passes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I heard Garoppolo kind of referenced Damon that he thought it was somewhat of an exhausting week. I always thought that they traveled to West Virginia so that they would save energy, right? They wouldn't have the travel back and forth, east-west.
Right.
But to hear Garoppolo say yesterday in the postgame, he made it seem like the week in West Virginia was exhausting. Now, I don't know why. I'm not really sure why. And they've had great success. I think in the 8 games surrounded by this little trip, they were 7-1 until yesterday. So now they're 7-2. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. All I got to say is that, man, you can't have hyper negative. The 49ers do some good things, but what they have is these hyper negative plays. Jeff Wilson fumbles and turns into 6. You've got these interceptions that burn you. Charlie Warner drops a bomb. Ray McLeod drops a bomb. Had to be 70 yards of field position in those 2 drops. So, I mean, they're making crucial mistakes. And then Jake Brendel, the old saying, you're only as weak as your weakest link. I mean, my goodness, 3 penalties on 1 drive. I mean, that cooked him right there. And then when you look at the fact that Arthur Smith played such incredible ball control with Mariota, that the 49ers didn't have a lot of drives to play with in this game. So, I mean, if you've got the 1 drive ends because of Wilson, 1 drive ends because of Warner, 1 drive ends because of McLeod, 1 drive, goes nowhere because of 3 Brendel penalties, those are half your offensive drives in the game. Gone. Because of overwhelmingly negative plays that you caused. So, I mean, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They still, I mean, they're not dead because, as you said, the conference looks really weak. They're the best team in the division, probably. I mean, they got the best record. They got the best point differential. They're probably going to win the division. It's not that, like, this team has no shot at the playoffs, but why can't they come from behind? Why couldn't they play hurry-up football?
Here's the thing. Kyle's got 1 pitch. He's got 1 speed. He's got 1 game plan. And the minute something goes wrong, he is sticking with his 1 game plan, his 1 pitch, his 1 speed. He does not adjust in-game. He does not adjust game to game. And that is a good way to underachieve in modern football, full stop. And I'll tell you this, injuries, problem on all sides of the ball. D'Amico found a way. Kyle didn't. D'Amico Ryans, his defense was down 7-8 starters. 9 the minute Ward goes out of that game? He finds a way. The defense yesterday only gave up 21 points. That should be enough to get you across the finish line on the road against a team that isn't playing hair-on-fire football either. And why did it take so long to get Deebo Samuel involved?